Welcome.
I wish it was a contest that we could put our podcast sound up against anybody else's. I wish it was a contest. We gonna enter and win.
Man, we smoking them.
Yeah, smoking them together.
Well, welcome to the Fourcast.
Right out.
Myself, HRap, Wilks, and Dawk. Glad to be back on the air and on Facebook. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Great to be back again. Before we kind of get into the festivities of tonight, HRap was in town this past weekend at the Juneteenth event. Also, he was able to hang out in Texas Asia. So we want to give you the floor for a minute and just talk about how much you enjoyed being here and when you plan on moving.
We gonna do the show?
Yeah.
I got some money. First of all, man, I want to thank Dawk, man. Dawk was the host with the most. Me and Dawk, we had a connection before this, but me and Dawk made a spiritual connection. Dawk gave me some things that's gonna help me in life, and in regard, and I want to thank him for that first and foremost. I really appreciated everything you've done, everything you did, Dawk, man. You made my experience at Texas unbelievable. Thank you. Thank your sisters, Nicole and
Mika.
No more of this. Nicole and Mika. I want to thank Wilks. I want to thank you, Ben, man. Everybody in Texas treated me like I was the prince of the city. I had people walk up to me in Texas. It was like, "You from Chicago? I watched your show," and it meant a lot to me, man. It was a true treat to be in Texas, and I'm gonna talk about this tomorrow on my show. And I'm disappointed in myself because if you listen to my show, you hear me frequently defend my city. Like, Chicago is no Beirut. Chicago isn't a war zone. I don't know why people, believe the media, but I was stupid enough to believe all the propaganda about Texas. Like I was telling Dawk, we were on the way in. I was like, if you let people outside of Texas tell it, those bushes over there, it's a bunch of Trump supporters over there with guns ready to jump out to get you. Texas ain't nothing like that. Hung out with my cousin Terry last night on a totally different side of town, and I got the exact same warm welcome. It was true blue Southern hospitality. Thank everybody in Texas, everybody who listened, everybody who's going to watch, everybody who's watching from Texas. Thank you for dispelling that lie. And there's, I'm not going to be polite and call it propaganda. I'm not going to be, misnomers. These are lies, because I don't care what it is in the news. I don't want to use the word never because I'm quite sure I've heard something positive. But if I've heard 100 stories that come out of Texas, I've only heard 3 positive ones. And that's going forward on my platform, on this platform, I will be doing my very best to uplift Texas because And I'm not saying I'm not drunk with I'm a drunk, but
you may be that, yeah. You may be
that. I'm not drunk with the weekend, but I am drunk with the hospitality, the people, the experience, and I think it's my job to tell people about the state of Texas and the people in Texas. And just for the record, I told Doc I was going to say this on my show, but to be perfectly honest, the stories that you hear about Texas, that's what's going on in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I give y'all a brief story. I used to be an admissions advisor during the Hurricane Katrina time, and there was a displaced woman from New Orleans, and she was like, "Are you from Illinois?" I was like, "Yeah." And she said, "I've never experienced racism like I experienced in Illinois," and I was like, I did the rest of the interview like that because I was embarrassed. So, man, salute to the state of Texas, and Big San Francisco need to cut it out.
Big San Francisco. Big Illinois, a.k.a. Show Enough, always coming in here, just blazing. Mwanga.
I don't know. No. The M is silent. That's my brother.
It's Wanga.
Wanga.
I'm sorry, Mika. I'm sorry.
I used to get my name.
Hey, Mika, just put it like this. I bought some Texas with me.
What's in that cup, HRap?
A little bit of Texas.
So good to see HRap, because first off, I'll say this. I've known HRap for a couple of years, but we never actually met face to face, and this past weekend was the first time.
That was awesome.
And it was great. And so we all got together. We came to this Juneteenth celebration, which was in Garland. I thought it was a great event. We were able to mix up the shows, so that show is on YouTube. It's also on all of our platforms, so you'll be able to find that. But just to kind of recap the event a little bit, I thought it was done very well. Also, shout out to Mon. I'm not sure what his actual name is, but shout out to Mon. Also, Justin Caraway. They showed up like he just got finished dropping 40 on somebody. And everybody to put it together, because I thought it was done well. But Wilks, I'll go to you. Also, happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of us as well. But Wilks, I'll go to you.
This is the mailman day.
No, ma'am.
All the mailman fathers, they can't tell.
I had a good time out there on Saturday, and just meeting HRap and seeing Dawk, face to face, meeting him, just having a good time. Of course, I was late as usual, but I didn't want to be too early, but just wanted to be right on time. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, just chopping it up with two of the queens and just talking to the people and having a good time. And I mean, I'd like to do it again. Actually, if BS3 shows up somewhere else, I mean, I'd like to be there. I enjoyed it. I had a good time, and watching y'all interview people and letting them get their selves out there, their stamp on things, and I really enjoyed it. I had a good time.
Yeah. And Dawk, well, I appreciate you too, just for bringing the majority of the stuff, the table and the chairs and the generator and the laptop and everything. So, I mean, you were very instrumental in this and how everything went. So I appreciate that.
Hey, it's what we do, homeboy. And the energy, man, the energy that you get on the Fourcast was ever present in person. It's just a real deal, Yeah. And if we told folks that we only knew each other for the amount of time that we knew each other, they probably wouldn't believe it,
Yeah.
Right. But of course, Garland, my hometown, seeing a lot of folks that I grew up with, and the energy there is exactly what I anticipated it to be. And the event, I mean, when it was as hot as it was, and the heat couldn't kill it, then that's how it was the bomb, because the heat couldn't kill it. So I had a fantastic time. Good to see everybody. I think the shows mixing is tantamount to crossover shows in television, So I thought that was unique. It created a different chemistry, and for certain, we got to do a couple of crossover events. Shout out to Raw Radio. You know, we did a little crossover with them. So hopefully we'll be able to do a little simulcast with them later on down the road too. So it definitely was a fantastic time. Can't wait to do it again.
Definitely. Shout out to Vince Wright. We call him the sports governor of Minnesota. He's one of the 9.5 black people in Minnesota. So shout out to him. Appreciate you, Mika. Appreciate you, Mika, definitely. And it was I was wondering how it was gonna work out, and like all those worries pretty much went away from the time we sit down and we started recording that stream. It just it went beautifully. And I'll say we know for sure that summer is here, based on what some of the people was and was not wearing. Out there. I want to give another shout out to I think it's Fly Season. He's got a clothing line. Interviewed him. Also, David Lark Smith, right? Is that his name?
David Lark Smith. Yeah.
David Lark Smith. We sat down and interviewed with him. I mean, it was just
Smith Foundation. Go check him out. Support his cause. He was a keynote speaker for the event.
Definitely, it was. For me, it was like kind of a culmination of everything that I've done with BS3 Radio. Started off BS3 Sports. I mean, it kind of all culminated in that moment. So I was just so appreciative of everything. Front Ground Records, aka DJ Knox, thank you for coming through. All right, so today's show topic is on the Netflix docuseries High on the Hog: How African American Cuisine Transformed America. And it is truly what it says in the description is truly what it was. We were going to be reviewing part 1 and 2 tonight, so we're going to get your takes and opinions. It is on Netflix. It is available right now. Rucker Park in the house. with the fuzzy Abby right there. You might need to clean off your cell phone screen. Hey, look, don't it look fuzzy? We love all
took that picture with a Kodak disc.
Wow.
With a Polaroid.
My head open when she see me.
With a Polaroid after somebody touched on it. Basically. That's what but anyway.
Wow.
So let's kind of give our overall thoughts on part 1 and part 2. We can mix it up a little bit. Dawk, I'm gonna go to you first.
I thought it was fantastic, man. Me and HRap obviously hanging together this weekend. It was very difficult for us to not do what you and Wilks always do, which is talk about it.
Always.
Yeah.
He may not be there that day. You never know.
But it was fantastic, man. And I mean, I can't wait to dig into it. You know, there was a lot of things that I had no idea about. And, you know, it talks about, you know, again, it says how African-American cuisine transformed America, right? Mm-hmm. Well, think about this. What about the cuisine that never made it over? Ooh. What about the cuisine that was lost in translation?
Right.
That's what's significant to me. You know, it's like it made a connection with the dishes that we eat now, the catfish, the black eyed peas, the beans, the rice, the okra, et cetera, right? There's a connection with all that. And I couldn't help but find myself longing for what else is it that we didn't get, that didn't make it, that got lost in translation. Right.
That's a great point. Awesome point. All right, HRap.
Oh yeah, man. I'm like, Dawk, man. What didn't make it? And what tripped me out is the little things that we didn't know about, like the yam, the okra. You don't think Africa when you say yam and okra, right? You think the South, and it just further shows you that the more we continue to be ignorant about our culture, right? And we, you know, Dr. John Henry Clark said, if you start your history at slavery, everything after that ceases to be an improvement. But when you go back further than slavery, you find out, like when they went over to the continent, and what was the name of that town right outside of Ghana, that country right outside of Ghana?
Benin.
Mm-hmm. When they went over to Benin, it was amazing, man. And it's a sad commentary that we continue to stop right. We stay right inside of that box that they put us in. We won't spill out. We won't kick the box down. We just stay there, and we've done it so long that we're comfortable, and we're gonna have to stop being comfortable if we do want to be free at some point.
Right.
You know. It's a biblical. I don't know the scripture, especially on I can't think of it. after a little tea. I'm definitely not.
I think Texas tea.
Yeah, this Texas tea. But everything is admissible. But is it? What is it? Everything is admissible, but everything is permissible. But is it beneficial? And you accept everything they tell us, but is it beneficial to stop where they talk to us, where they talking? We need to expand it.
Right. And to piggyback off of what you're saying, HRap, there's so much that we don't know because kind of what you said, it's like the history starts with slavery. That's what I've known for so long, and I'll have to say, exterminate all the brutes basically just like tore that whole thing off.
I mean,
it shattered what
they kicked it down.
Right, exactly. And then you come to this, which shows the food aspect of it. And we gotta dig deep. Like we cannot just go with what the surface tells us any longer. It's unacceptable at this point, like in my opinion. So, but Wilks, I'll go to you.
Yeah, for me, and like I said, a lot of this is going to be off the hip because I like to cook, and just the connection, just walking through the square there, the market. I mean, some of the stuff I knew, but some of it I didn't. But especially with the okra, and it being a thickening agent, it being something that somebody brought over. And they plan it, and they took those things, and you get to wondering. You hear these things. Oh, my grandmother used to cook this, but yet, how can you be so racist when you're using those very ingredients that were brought over by the people you despise right now?
Yeah,
and it goes beyond that for me in most cases. But I mean, I thought it was done very well. I mean, I was glued to it. Like I was like, man, this is awesome. I mean, it had me going through recipes in my head while I'm watching it. But no, I thought it was done great. I mean, I love to learn about that. I mean, the black eyed peas, the rice. I mean, what we have now. On New Year's, we got to cook a pot of black eyed peas. It's like it's more significant now. It's not just like, oh, somebody grew these beans and whatever, but no, there's a background to all of these ingredients. All these ingredients have a tale to tell. So no, it was great. I enjoyed it.
And it's not superstition. It's not because that's what that's what I do. I mean, you do it.
Do it for good luck.
For good luck. Yeah.
Now you kind of wonder. Now, was that a cover up for something, or it's like, oh well,
maybe
we can't let them know that was connected to their hair. I don't know.
Right, exactly. I agree. I believe that 100%. At this point, there is nothing at all stops that Europeans would have found a way to not provide it, not give us the information, or not steer us in the wrong direction so we don't find the information.
And I have to say, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but now it makes me despise the pumpkin pie even more because you literally whitewashed the sweet potato pie. Like,
he done got mad at the pie now.
Man, I'm like, I don't even want to hear it, man. I don't want to hear it, man. Don't bring that to me. Don't bring that to me, man. I don't want to hear about no pumpkin pie.
Biscuits, man.
We know what version that is, man. That's the man's pie. We don't want that, man. We don't want that, man.
So, High on the Hog, it is hosted by Stephen Satterfield. And it traces through the origins of African American cuisine, tracing it through the lines from Africa to Texas. So where it starts at is in Benin, which it goes to the roots, and it opens with West Africans or people that were in Benin possibly dancing, which I just thought was beautiful. I mean, just to see the opening of that. And I mean, if we even go through the Bible, a lot of it was eating. It was sitting down and eating and sharing a meal. It wasn't always just sitting down and talking. It was around food. So that even goes back further to our lineage and how food was a focal point of a conversation or if something that was trying to be delivered. So I felt like that was an awesome intro to it, and then it gets into the points. Dr. Jessica B. Harris. So shout out to her. She was the author of the book, which is what this is based off of.
The other Dr. J. That's what he called.
Definitely. And it was just beautiful to see them walking throughout the street and the markets, and it just really made me want to go to Africa even more, just to experience that. I think that's something that we all need to experience because there's so much that kind of what Steven Satterfield was talking about. There's so much that we can't get from just being here and watching something. It's stuff that you got to go there and actually see it. So yeah.
Hey, I want to ask Dawk what was his favorite part about the Benin.
About Benin?
About the Benin?
About what homeboy was in Benin.
I don't know. Right off hand, man.
It was something like this.
When he got emotional, Steven Satterfield got emotional at one point. Whenever that was, I guess he was at the shores, and there's a bunch of statues, right? And so it literally gave me a different slant on the statues that we're talking about that have been so talked about here over the last 18 months or so. And they actually have statues of slaves being bound at the shores and getting ready to, because this is West Africa, one of the biggest hubs of the slave trade. And they got the statues real and prevalent and in person because they don't want to forget, and they still, what's surprising to me is how much they are connected to the ancestors that came over here. They didn't say, they don't look down on those ancestors. They're not saying that's not a part of our heritage. They are very connected to us. And one of the early lines was that food connects us through time, across geography, and from generation to generation. And that's a strong line, and if you think about it, when you eat food, sometimes we just take it for granted, right? But when you think about when you had some good food, what it does to you, and it is an experience, man. It's something about it when you're eating food. Like if you think about eating some good catfish, man, or some good gumbo, or some good black eyed peas or something, man, it is literally an experience, and there's something that you can't put a finger on. And I think we just got we got what the finger needs to be put on.
Yeah. And in part two, now I'll go to you, HRap. In part two, one of the I think he was a critic. I don't remember his name, but he was basically saying food is like we were the only group of people that named something soul food when it relates to something that you cannot see, but it's close to God, and it's I mean that to me.
Someone at the fire when they were sitting around.
Right. That kind of piggybacks off of what you said, Doc. But go ahead, HRap.
I want to add on to some of what Doc said. One of the things that Doc talked about is these Confederate statues that everybody's talking about, and they're taken down. We were fooled into believing that those statues have been up since the 1800s. Those statues have only been up since the late 50s and the 60s. It was created by this group. Those statues were created by this group who destroyed the education system for people like us. These ladies are called the daughters of the Confederate. When you go to Stone Mountain, that is the original Mount Rushmore. When you look at those carvings on Stone Mountain, that's Robert E. Lee, that's Andrew Jackson, and the rest of the Confederate Army on Stone Mountain. And the dude who was commissioned to do that actually did Mount Rushmore. The daughters of the Confederate they shrunk the education system so we would only see things through the vision of 1619 through today, and not anything further back. And it limited the information in regards to us. So that's why we are ignorant to what's going on, and that's why we need to continue to research do research on topics like this. And in regards to the food, I totally agree, man. If I've been watching Kwame Brown to show you how, well, again, to piggyback off what Dawk said, food is a healer. It is a binder. It inculcates people. And Kwame Brown has been on his rant for like 3 weeks about people picking on him for the last 20 years, calling him a bust and this, that, and the third. He had a former teammate, Eton Thomas, on there, and this shows you the power of food. When you don't know, and he was like, they would kick balls into the stands and tell Kwame to go get the balls before the bus took off, or he was going to get left at practice. And Eton was a second-year player after 4 years of college, which means he's only 4 years older than Kwame. And Kwame, an 18-year-old young man, and these two young brothers watching Doug Collins, Charles Oakley, Patrick Ewing mistreat this brother. And you know what they said they did? He said, I was just speechless, and I just turned to him and said, hey, man, let's go get something to eat. And that's exactly what we're watching here. Right. You see, they showed you when we were in bondage, the queen mothers of the enslaved people, they fed you. The fathers of the enslaved people, they fed you. The mothers of the enslaved people, they fed you because you didn't have anything else. You didn't have freedom. You didn't have the liberty. You couldn't read. You couldn't educate yourself. You couldn't even be. We couldn't do this. We couldn't sit in a room and have friends, but we could eat together. And that's what kept them as a unit. And a lot of people, I see this every holiday season, people our age go, it ain't like when grandma and them was doing it. And every year I write on somebody's page, you grandma and them now. If your family isn't getting together like it used to, you're 45 to 55 years old, that's your fault. And everybody roll their eyes at me. Oh man, here we go. Be on that black stuff again. But if you complaining and you know food brings you together, because hey man, I don't know. It ain't nobody that's ever gonna watch this. Ain't nobody who's watching this now that didn't get excited every year at the end of November because I'm going to my grandma's house. Right.
Yeah.
I think just like what HRap was saying, I mean, back to what Ben was even saying, just like in the Bible, Jesus met people around the table. Just like the woman that didn't want to give up the last bit of meal. He said, give it up. Serve it to my anointed one. And I guarantee you will have more than what you have right now. And when she went to serve it was full again.
You hear what I'm saying? You give it. It's a cycle. If you're giving it, you're gonna always get it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the child that showed up when Jesus was among the many. I mean, he fed 5,000 with just a loaf of bread and 2 fish. Once again, it's that supper. I mean, once again at the table, Lord prepares me a supper amongst my enemies. It's one of those things where it's like it's a connecting tool. It's a bridging agent. How can it? I mean, look at mafia movies. Yeah. When they bring somebody in, it's gonna be at a restaurant. Oh, my mom's cooking one of the best meals. I mean, it's a way to connect. It's a way to make deals. It's a way to have people do things that you need them to do for you. Hey, he fed me. He brought me in. Oh man, he made one of my favorite dishes. It's just one of those things where I think food has always it's like music. It's always been that language to connect people. Yeah. Food is exactly the same thing. It's to connect. And it's just one of those things where it's like, man, you cannot deny it. I think I heard something where they said the kitchen is the most important part of the house. Yeah. You've got bad news in the kitchen. You've got good news in the kitchen. You've gathered in the kitchen. You've shared secrets in the kitchen. I mean, it's the proof is in the pudding, if you will. But it's just one of those things where it is a connecting agent. It is a serious thing.
Yeah. And yes, Mika, Wilks do be preaching.
Yeah.
Reverend Doctor.
And the irony is everything Wilks said, Dawk said Saturday night. I mean, verbatim.
Yeah.
Everything he just said, Dawk said Saturday night.
Like you said, shoot it from the hip.
Yeah.
Well, again, food tells the stories. This is one of the lines they said. Food tells the stories of where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going.
Yeah. And stop right there. Hold on right there. Mm-hmm. And that artist said, "I know who you are by what you eat.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell the kind of person you are by what you eat. I can tell where you come from."
Wow.
There was another part where the guy said, "Oh, here, taste that." He just wiped it off the back of the spoon. He's like, "How'd you know that?"
That's right.
Yeah. He's like, "Well, somebody had to come before me and do this.
That's right.
I didn't just learn this."
Right.
So it's definitely a connecting agent. It's definitely something that is always going to be a bridge. And it's amazing. I mean, I will tell you this: when I cook during November and Christmas, I just think about my grandmother because she was in the kitchen and had me in the kitchen. When I pull that dressing out of the oven, man, I can hear my grandmother. I can smell when I'm a little kid at that house at 3888 Happy Cane. It's one of those things. It's just like I can hear my grandmother. I can hear my grandfather. It's like it teleports me. It takes me back.
Right.
It's almost like a therapy for me in a sense. I'm comfortable in those moments. I'm the kind of person that when I cook, I don't want to taste it. I want you to taste it, because when you get that joy from tasting it, I'm good. I'm done. Like I don't have to do anything else. Ben knows when I cook at work.
Prime example, when he's making burgers, he's bringing the burgers out and we eating. He's like, "Nah, y'all go ahead and eat," and he eats afterwards.
You gonna eat like I eat at home. That's the way I eat. So it's just one of those things that just to connect people, to gather around.
And a prime example about food, 2 examples. Whenever somebody's released from jail, what's the first thing that they do?
Yeah,
eat.
Go get something to eat.
Go get some real food. The other thing is, we can always think about a dish that somebody in our family, maybe our mom, maybe our grandmother, something that they cooked that you always want at a certain time of the year, or something that you just may always want. And that again goes back to food. And like Wilks said, the conversations in the kitchen, you have the hard ones, you have the ones when you breaking down, or you have the ones when you have the joyous conversations. I mean, it's
big.
Go ahead, Doc. I think you were going to say something.
No, I was going to say, if Wilks talked about how it teleports you somewhere, our slave ancestors, that's why food was so important, because it teleported them back home. Yeah. That was literally their connection to home, you know. So that's why it's probably so prevalent in our culture, in our society, in our culture, because it was all they had,
Yeah.
All they had.
And just kind of like what Doc is saying right now, now you look at this and you watch it. It's kind of like we see that word soul food, but there's a reason why it's soul food, survival food. There's a reason why it's soul music, survival. That music that in those times of the 60s where civil rights was at its highest or its lowest. It was the music that brought people together. It was the soul food that brought people together that, like he said, it teleported them back. Like, this is from my homeland. You look at it as slop and whatever else and crumbs, but man, I can make a whole meal with this.
Yeah, we've all been in that situation where people are wondering, how can you be laughing in the midst of such chaos, in the midst of such misery, in the midst of such sorrow? And guess what? That's the history of us. We've always, even in the opening of this documentary, they were happy, and by the world standard, they would consider them impoverished. Right. In slavery, there are so many stories that, of being happy, in the wedding traditions and jumping over the brooms and all this other kind of stuff. They were happy. Some of the happiest people in the world are in what would be considered impoverished conditions, and again, food is the way they got there,
Yeah. Wanga says, Wilks, that's real love cooking. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I agree.
There's a passion there. Shout out to my wife. She's commenting on one of the shared posts, so we can't see it here, but she said that's real, I think in response to HRap. And then also she's saying that food, wow, so true. It's the soul connection and the memories. Yeah. I mean, we all have memories of eating food or eating a certain certain time, and there she is right there. Hello, beautiful. But I always tell the story about my grandmother that me and my cousins went to North Carolina to visit, and we got there late, and she was like, "Y'all hungry?" We was like, "Yeah." She was like, "I'm gonna make." Obviously, look at us. But anyway, she made some Spam sandwiches. Hey. I mean, she said, "I'm gonna make y'all some sandwiches." She just made some Spam sandwiches, and I was like, "What is this?" And she was like, "It's Spam." That's probably one of the best sandwiches I ever had. Yeah. Like, and just because when she did something, it was when she put her finger on it, it was good. You didn't worry about, I don't know what that's gonna taste like, or I need to. No, you need to worry about any of that. And she's still alive, so she is brilliant when it comes to the kitchen. And we all have those memories, and I think that's why this documentary, I think, hits home just like some of the other ones that we've watched. Now, I don't know if somebody mentioned it, but okra. It's talked about okra is African. It moved from Africa to America, and then okra in French is gumbo. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was amazing.
That I didn't know. I was surprised by that. And then I think about it, they don't thicken the roux with anything else. The gumbo thicken the okra thickens the roux.
So what they said early on, they said American food has deep roots in African American food, not only in tradition but in ingenuity. So it's the way you prepare certain foods, right? And how you use certain foods. So that is the ingenuity of African foods, is using it as a thickening agent in gumbo.
Yeah. And again, we've talked about this numerous times. That goes back to the creativity that the Most High has given us. Like you just can't deny it. I don't care who you are. You cannot deny the creativity. And we're so creative that we create it. It gets stolen, and then we just create. We create something different that gets stolen. Then we just create something else, and we just keep creating because it is in us. I don't. Nobody can deny it, and that goes back to everything.
Well, they say necessity is the mother of invention, and we have been in the state of necessity so frequently that we've invented. Necessity is the mother of invention. We're not going to do without. We're going to figure it out.
Right.
I mean, it's just like what HRap was saying when he had that smothered rice, when he had that rice with the gravy. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't know how many times that has been the savior in the house. You know, I mean, it's one of those things where that's all I need. I don't need nothing else. Put a little salt and pepper on it. Put that gravy on there. Oh, that's a wrap. It's done.
As far as the okra, the funny thing is, my mother, one of the last things she taught me how to make was this chicken and wild rice soup. And we made it. It's delicious. And to tie into what Ben said, the Most High, or in African terms, they call it ways of knowing. After my mom passed, I said, I'm going to make the soup. So I make the soup. I'm not really a fan of okra, but for whatever reason, I went and got the okra, and I was like, man, it's even better. It goes right into what Ben said. It's the ancestors and the Creator reaching down saying, you know what, she didn't tell you this, but this is what you need to do. And I would have never, I'm talking about in 10,000. I remember me and my cousin Vincent used to laugh at, oh, it's slimy, I don't want this. And now I'll make my soup without it. So
wow.
One of the cats said, he understands the divisive nature of okra, because you got okra lovers and you got okra haters. And he goes, even if you don't like okra, you need to know how to cook with it, just simply because of the significance in a lot of our dishes.
Great comment. You can copy the recipe, but you will never know or understand the sauce. We are amazing people.
Oh yeah.
Facts.
That's true.
And watching this documentary, as well as some of the other stuff we watch, we are brilliant. Don't let anybody tell you any different. You are brilliant, because that is the way God made you.
The restaurant owner that they talked to, she basically said, if we don't showcase what we can do, who will? And they went into, she even asked a question. She goes, I don't understand why African cuisine is not as popular as French cuisine or Asian cuisine. when it has so many stamps on the food that we eat on a daily basis. See, they give other cultures credit for rice, right? They give other cultures credit for hot peppers, right?
Yes,
how about that? Did you know how hot peppers was as big of a staple in African food as it is?
And it's so funny he mentioned that, because in one of the, I think it's the last episode, so forgive me for jumping ahead, but at Lucille's, he's using a Scotch bonnet. Scotch bonnet, that's a Caribbean pepper. That's an African pepper. Like, it's not just because of the jalapeno and the dragon breath is out there and the ghost pepper and the chili pepper.
You ever ride the bus, you're going to get some dragon breath, I promise you.
Yes, exactly.
But you know what's funny? One of the ways to combat high blood pressure is through hot peppers, because it speeds up the blood flow. And maybe they didn't have high blood pressure over there when we were preparing our own food and we put this pepper in there.
Right.
It only became prevalent when we started eating over here and didn't have it.
Wow.
Because we're synonymous with high blood pressure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, and Steve, I've started using peppers more.
Oh yeah, I love Ben will tell you.
Oh yeah. Ghost peppers. I mean, he'll bring some into work. Put this on a cracker and taste this. Like, I don't know.
I'm not touching the ghost pepper.
Shout out to Overton Claiborne. Thank you for tuning in, talking with OC. He's got a podcast. Just Joe, thank you for coming through. Joe from Houston.
Overton.
Appreciate that. And it's just amazing to. I mean, I think this is things that my parents have instilled in me, but then when you see it in a documentary and you see the way that it's the way this was delivered, I just think it's just more confirmation of who we are. The yams, I did not know that.
Oh man!
When they showed the yams, I was like, what is that? It looked like a tree bark. And it was like, you're not eating yams, you're eating sweet potatoes.
Right, because when you go to the store, you're not buying the yam you think you're buying.
Yeah.
It's like, but they label them yam. I'm like, that's not a yam.
Man, you talk about bamboozling people.
Right.
For a long time.
Right.
Yeah. Well, some of it was, again, because, let's explain it to them that yams wasn't grown over in America for such a long period of time just because the climate was not conducive to it.
Right.
Now it's grown a little bit in Florida and some other places. So you may start to see yams, as we go along, as the months and the years pass, we may see more and more of it. So again, remember we talked about necessity being the mother of invention, so I'm not going to begrudge them for making sweet potatoes what it is, right? We had to substitute because we didn't have anything else, but the truth of the matter is sweet potatoes is different than yams. This is the closest we can come with. Hey, we can do what we used to do with yams, we can do with this,
Right.
So that's my perspective on that.
Yeah.
And it's strange that, like, piggybacking on the pie thing, they eat pumpkin pie, and you snatch these people from their homeland and say these are yams. You've never heard a black person make a yam pie.
Nope.
Ever.
Yeah.
And could that be, it's just ways of knowing. It continues to go back to ways of knowing.
Right.
Even they won't announce this is what that is. No.
Yeah.
Oh,
this is a sweet potato. This is not a yam.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're not eating candy yams, you're eating glazed sweet potatoes.
Right.
Exactly. So we're talking about High on the Hog. It's on Netflix, how African American cuisine transformed America. I love that title, just to kind of go back to that for a minute. We're not talking about how it just transformed African Americans. We're talking about how it transformed America and how that is pushed. Like we are the trendsetters. Okay, we are not. We set the trend, and then we set another trend after somebody else already came behind it and try to figure it out.
I'm gonna tell you, like Pimp C used to say, I was through with it before you knew what to do with it. And I'm not talking about that Pimp C, I'm talking about that Pimp C out of Dallas County, baby.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Right on.
And then then it kind of talked about the story of rice, which, and then that goes into kind of part two. But another thing that I didn't really know that deep background in that, and also rice is the base. I was talking to Wilks earlier today. Yes, at work.
Sorry.
Anyway. But that
I'm calling you tomorrow. I'm calling you tomorrow. We can get out
together. But rice is the basis of a lot of meals. I'm not gonna say a percentage. Maybe Wilks, you can maybe say something about that. But you got it. Rice is the basis of so many things, and that is something that we were a huge part of.
I mean, yeah, rice, the long grain, short grain, split grain, black rice from risotto, that starch. I mean, it is the substance of economic growth. I mean, it is huge. I mean, rice is probably equivalent to pretty much having wheat like bread. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, it can rival mashed potatoes. Like it's a big thing. I mean, it has made empires, as you see, of course, with the Carolina Gold. There was a red rice, which looks like the Carolina Gold was more popular. But yeah, rice has always been a staple for anything. I mean, it is a big driving agent. It is. I mean, it's on burritos. I mean, it's everywhere, man. I mean, it's like beans. It's all
without the slaves, it would not have happened.
Yeah, that's what's key to me. So quite simply put, rice built America, right? South Carolina, per capita was the wealthiest city in America due to rice plantations, right? And what's significant about that, it says the amount of trees and swampland that had to be displaced, the amount of landscape necessary for the rice plantation was more land than was needed for the pyramids in Egypt. And they said the footprint that rice plantations made in America can be seen from outer space. That's how significant it is. You can actually see the scarring of the land due to the rice plantations. And they made it plain and simple. Rice was in America before slaves got there, but we didn't know what the hell we was doing.
Right.
They said when Africans got over there and started planning it properly and doing what they said, that's when it exploded. Yeah, it was there, but it wasn't grown right. And guess what? Guess what took a dip as soon as slavery ended? Rice production.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Just as much as it had boomed, it went away. And the cat says, because all the African rice growers, they were free, they were gone. So the industry took a hit.
Yeah. And the guy that was doing the that particular rice, the gold,
Carolina Gold
right now, he made a comment like, I don't want to be the one to have the privilege, but I mean, he's doing it, but also he said he was giving it away. So I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this guy a pass or not, but I do think he's trying.
Yeah, no, he's saying he's not gonna profit off the seed. So he gives away the rice seed. Yeah. He profits off the rice, which, hey, this is business. I'm a businessman. Hey, you did what was necessary to grow your business, but he at least gives back. He goes, that's his form of reparation, so to speak, is that I will not profit off this seed. If you need the seed, come get it. I got you.
And see, that's the thing that I have always kind of wondered, and you guys can correct me if I'm out of place, but why is it just like with the peanut? It's like you've gotten so profitable, off of these different peanut butters, when George Washington Carver has invented many things with the peanut, and Eli Whitney with the cotton gin, and they come along and they enhance that, and cotton is big, we all wear cotton, but it's like, when do you acknowledge that most of this was built on the backs of people that probably were not slaves, but they were free thinking people, they were engineers in a sense. And it's like one of those things where it's just like, when do these big companies start saying, you know what, we got to realize that we didn't come up with this idea. We pretty much took these ideas, we gave them to our engineers, our whatever development teams, and ran with them. But I wonder, when do they ever just reach back and say, you know what, this is how it started? But I guess that's never going to happen. But
no, It'll never happen.
Never.
Because if in the event that you speak up about that, you have to pay restitution. Anytime you admit you stole something from someone, you give them a legal precedent to say, that's mine, pay me for it.
Yeah.
It's just like kind of like with Henrietta Lacks. I mean, you take her genes that are still living.
To this day. She's accountable for 149 cures for illnesses, and her family is in court as we speak to get reparations for that. So General Mills is going to step up and do something, you are outside of your damn mind.
Your natural born mind.
Right.
Shout out to Baby Queen. Thank you for coming through. Alicia said very true.
And Blake Mama.
Tammy Pierce. She says Scotch bonnet peppers are a staple in the Haitian
in Trinidad.
So the word staple, that's another piece that I missed about this rice, right? What do staples do in regular office supplies?
They bond.
They bind things together, right? Right? That's what rice is a staple, right? So it is a bonding agent for a people.
Right.
Let me give you a double entendre for that bonding. The sisters from Africa who were captured and brought here put the rice in their hair and braided it back until they got here. Further tying in rice and our people.
Oh yeah.
One of the great things that they showed was Steven Satterfield and the other writer. I think she was a writer that was with him. I didn't get her name, but how they were going to the different restaurants in Benin, and it was just showing that just because they're in Benin doesn't mean that they don't have culinary arts. And the chef was studied in France, but he also put his own twist on it, and the food looked delicious. I mean, and it was really good to see. So I kind of like how they messed. It wasn't just a documentary or talking about food. It was like, let's cook the food and let's actually eat it, because that brings it all together.
I've also noticed while watching this documentary, a lot of vegetables are driven in this documentary. Yeah, they talk about chicken, they talk about lamb, they talk about goat, but a lot of the vegetables are big. I mean, just natural grains and starches. I mean, it's a big thing. Like, they use that a lot in the ingredients that I noticed.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I was thinking about something that was said close to the end of the documentary when you talked about the vegetables, and they talked about the Gullah people and how the Europeans had to run from the malaria up in the hills to save their lives. And again, these are things that they continue to force into us, like meat, like animals and things like that we ate sparingly. But as I said, we piled on every time you saw a plate. They piled on the vegetables. And another thing is sickle cell is a direct fighter against malaria.
Wow.
So if you are from West Africa, you can't get malaria because you have sickle cell, and maybe that's why you're in so much pain over here, because there was a balance. Something that the malaria did to you that balanced out the sickle cell, and if you separate us from the countries, you get what you get now.
Wow,
man! Wow.
My wife dropping some knowledge. I need a knowledge bomb in here.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's why the Asians got protection. We got Juneteenth. If they recognize all of our greatness, contributions to this nation, will be 100%.
I mean, look at I hate to do it again, but look at the last episode, Black Cowboys.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like we taught you this here. Like, what you took us along on these trail rides. You had us herding your cattle. Like, I mean, it's just the contributions. I don't even want to get out the checklist because I don't have enough ink. But it's
really, you would have to get one of them scrolls of paper and it would be going through all of those boxes.
Right. Exactly.
And
exactly.
there's not enough. There is not enough money. All you would have to do is give us this country and everything that's in it.
Right.
I mean, that's the only amount of reparations.
Well, then they'd be afraid to be the new African. They don't want to do that.
Yeah. They'll be afraid that we would harm them, and that's not it either.
That's not
because again, going back to the point, we taught you guys how to do stuff.
Going back to
if we hated you, would we teach you? No.
Right.
So again, that goes back. I mean, yeah. Great comment. Now, go ahead, Doc.
No, when they just HRap talking about the malaria situation and whatnot, that brought on a greater isolation. But their take on it was, we glad you isolated us because that helped us maintain our culture. So we appreciate the isolation. It helped us stay together
to this very day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the Gullah, the chef, which man, I love his DJ. I love the way he talked. His slang was and he was so he was appreciative of the older generation that helped him. And we'll kind of touch on that in a minute. But I wanted to get to the city that he went to, of Bome.
I just want to say this real quick.
Yeah.
So in Latin culture, and even in Hawaii, it's a thing to bury the pig or the goat in the ground. But I'm wondering, is that a tribal thing? Is that a survival thing? I mean, I saw the Gullah people doing the same thing with the goat pretty much covering it. So I'm kind of wondering, what take did that come from? Like how far does that reach? Or was that always a thing? I'm just wondering. I don't know. But when I saw that, I immediately thought about those two cultures, but I was Samoan or the Latin take on that.
Yeah.
But since the Africans kind of melded with those Latin countries, did they also bring some of that too? I mean,
yeah. So here's a little secret of mine. So I like to dabble in the kitchen as well, and there's some folks on here can probably tell you, boy, got them skills. But I've heard a couple of times, like, man, how'd you get this so tender? How'd you get this so tender? And one of the ways is I mimic that covering. In the oven, in layers. Okay, so you see that some of them, it's like layers and layers. Okay, first we're gonna cover it with these palm leaves. Then we're gonna put this over it. Then we're gonna put that over it.
Right.
So I mimic that by layers of foil. Because basically you're trying to trap all that in, that heat and that steam and that in, and that's what's gonna break down those membranes in that meat that causes it to be tough.
Yes.
Right. So this is not culinary training. You understand? That's why you can put me up against a culinary trained chef, and this is just watching Mama do it. This is good old Afro engineering, and you accomplish the exact same things, and that's why you can take that bone. You don't need just take it, twist it, and pull it out. Because it doesn't let go. That heat make that meat let go of that bone.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. They come out clean.
Some of those that's ingenuity that they used. That is still today. You want your meat tender? Cover it up.
Yeah.
Wilks, look into this series called the Hidden Color Series, Series 2. And they talk about, it may be Series 1.
Yeah.
1 or 2. They talk about how the Africans went into those Polynesian islands and exchanged things. So
that's why I was kind of worried. When I saw that, I immediately connected. I was like, man, once again, like something that I've seen before done, but I mean, did we engineer that? Like, did we spread that? I mean, I'm just kind of wondered.
So one of the things, okay, so when they were in Benin, and this was toward the beginning, this is like one of the first places that Dr. J and Steven Satterfield went to. They got to the dessert stage. You see what they was doing with that pineapple, man? When they were cooking it on that skillet?
Yes.
Ooh, it's got me wanting to experiment with some of that, man.
Right.
I bet you can do something with that.
I was like, man, that was good. No, trust me. I'm telling you, when I'm watching it, my gears are turning. Like
those creative juices.
They made. I rewound that about 6 times so I can make sure I knew what he put in that soup. Big homie.
Yeah.
I'm
making that.
Yeah.
That looked good too. Yeah, that looked good.
It was, and you could tell that Steven Satterfield, it was zoomed in on his face because he's the host when he was trying it. just the way he explained it, it was depth to it.
Yeah,
it wasn't just like that's good. No, it was like the taste and the texture of it. And what's in it. I mean, that just shows that.
And he said what people were wondering. He's like, the okra is in the background. It's not overpowering. I know what you're thinking. Yeah. He said, but it ain't. That's why the only time I eat okra generally is when it's in a gumbo. And it's playing the background. Which I guess is what it's designed to do.
Yeah. And so when they went to Abome, I wanted to touch on this where it talked about that, and he gave the gentleman that he was talking to gave the background of just that they wanted to improve their city or their nation, and they did it. It was at a cost because they were supplying Europeans with slaves, but there was a reasoning for them doing it, and that made that city more powerful. But I did, and that was a city where you walked down the road. That was powerful.
And real quick,
you looked at how long that was. It wasn't either.
No, I just want to say something at that point, and I've heard this before many times, but nobody's ever expounded and went into it. I've always heard that black people participated in slavery. Oh well, the deterrent is black people also had something to do with slavery, but I don't think they knew to the point of where they were going and how they were going to be treated.
They didn't know.
I think that's what I say we, but I think that's whatever that argument is to deter from the truth. They don't go into the detail that they were not aware of what was going to happen. But I mean, I could, that's what I'm thinking after watching that.
Well, when you talk about the slave trade, we always look at it from a 20th century perspective, person to person. Look at it from the United States perspective, or even Canada and North America. We're all Americans, Mexicans, people in the United States, and Canadians. But we think we're different from Canadians and Mexicans because we're from the United States.
Right.
You got 54 countries over there on that continent. Yeah, they all look alike. Like to us, to the naked eye.
That's a good word.
To the naked eye, a Chinese man looks like a Korean man, looks like a Japanese man. But when you are Japanese, they look different to each other. Right. When you are from Ghana and you got somebody from Sierra Leone, we're not the same. We look alike, but we're not the same. Puerto Ricans and Mexicans look alike, but they're not the same. And people need to start to realize that when you're looking at a person from Sierra Leone, he is not a Ghanaian. So when you have somebody, from Ghana, grab somebody from there, you look a little, in their mind, you look a little like me, but you're not me.
Right.
So, and then another thing is this. It's a classism thing. It's a caste system over there. And when you warring with Nigeria versus Niger versus Ethiopia, what happens is this. Let's say Nigeria is at the top of the food chain and they take over Niger. Niger does not lose any identity. You are just second-class citizens to the Nigerians. And then when the Niger people and the Nigerians take over Ethiopia, they're third-class citizens. What the brothers and sisters, what our ancestors did was say, hey, Ethiopia, you third-class citizens over here with us. You keep the Ethiopian heritage, but we're going to ship you to these, we're going to give you to these Americans, and then you will be a second-class citizen over there, and we'll still have our footprint in that. Yeah. So you're right. They didn't say, you know what, we're going to beat you into submission, and we're going to take everything that is involved by you. That's why they continue to pump that propaganda, much like at the beginning of the show I talked about Texas. Oh, they're crazy, they're Republicans, it's racist, black people goose-stepping and watching that step, and they want you to believe that it plays in the we're savages narrative, that if they're savages, you see how they did each other. But all you have to do is, again, let's not begin our history at slavery. Let's take it from 1525 when it started, the Great Slave Trade with Pope Paul, I think his name was. He started it. He sanctioned it, right? Well, let's go to 1400, and you see the Greeks and the Italians enslaving each other. You see the Irish being enslaved by the English. So who's that? Who did that? A white man enslaving a white man, but they don't want to talk about that.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's been going on for ages. It's just because in order to maintain this foot on your neck, they can never allow you to look back. Because if you mess around and look back, you're going to see the greatness in you. And when you see the greatness, take a quote out of Frederick Douglass's book, and then I'll be quiet. Frederick Douglass was purchased by by a man and his wife. When the man was doing whatever he was doing, the wife was inside of the house saying, teaching Frederick Douglass how to read. The man comes in the house and say, hey, what are you doing? She said, I'm teaching him how to read. If you teach him how to read, he's going to realize that's not being a slave. He's too good to be a slave. And if you figure that out, then you're going to be Frederick Douglass. And then when you figure it out, you're going to be Nat Turner. And everybody else throughout history who fooled around and learned how to read, they said, I ain't doing this shit. I mean, excuse me. I ain't doing this.
You all right?
I ain't doing this no more. And then they my Vesey right there at the AME church, again, another lie. Because remember, they told you that boy Dylan Roof just wrote out a manifesto, went to that church and killed everybody. But you know what they don't tell you? This is what reading will get you. That he killed them 2 days before the anniversary of Denmark Vesey starting the greatest enslaved revolt in the history of America. That was a planned attack on a specific day.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, as in terms of the, one of the things that they came out with when Stephen Satterfield was walking down that road, the narrator, basically said, we must walk down the difficult roads that we have traveled in life. The roads our ancestors once walked, the roads they once ran, the roads they once hid, the roads they once died. And to ignore these roads is simply to ignore a part of ourselves. Yeah. So it may be difficult to look at these roads. It may be difficult to see some of the mistakes, to see some of the missteps, to see some of the, you follow me? But it's got to be looked at.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to Transcend Mon. He's was one of the hosts of the event. And he definitely said, I'm going to have to check this out afterwards. Definitely, it is available 24/7. So on YouTube or on Facebook, while you're watching it, you can always come back.
Yeah, let me piggyback on that. Shout out to Mon, because he, as a host of an event like that, it requires a lot of work. Okay. Yes. So, so he had to get there earlier than everybody else, and he's there later than everybody else. And he is running around like a head with his chicken cut off the entire time. So again, fantastic work, man. Fantastic turnout, and let BS3 Radio know what we can do to help you in future events, future Juneteenth, future whatever events you have. Give us a shout out. We'll do what we can do.
Definitely. He also said that hidden colors has led me to more and more info that a lot of people do not want to acknowledge. Yes. Yeah. He said the Hidden Colors series is dope.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that.
Yeah, definitely.
You got to check it out, Wilks. It's amazing. It's awesome. It teaches you that things as unique as martial arts was created by somebody who looked like us. A brother watched animals and then created martial arts.
Wow.
Once again,
the inventors of all. So one of my favorite parts was Ganvi.
And y'all, and everything being unpronounced tonight, don't worry about the pronunciation. Go watch it for yourself and you'll figure that part out. Just go with it. Just go with it.
Basically, the town on the water.
The water village is what they call it.
That was.
Oh, man. Yeah,
we talk about Italy. Like we say it. We say Italy is it. But this is going on right now in Africa, and just to see them traveling, and to the lady she had a boat full. She almost looked like the candy lady. She had a boat full of containers and bins. You're buying. I thought that was beautiful.
It's pretty crazy.
I was almost speechless watching it.
Yeah, and all the churches that he talked about there, he made sure to point that out. He's like, we got a celestial church, we got a Catholic church, there's a mosque over there, there's a voodoo church over there. Yeah. So it was interesting just that alone. But these are basically houses on water, and their streets were waterways, and the street vendor is in a boat, selling her wares, and they pull their boat up next to her to buy some stuff off of her boat,
Yeah.
So it's fantastic.
And I just want to say something to that real quick. Going back to that voodoo church, and this is, I didn't research it then, but there was somebody in South Dallas, and we were waiting in line at a fish place. And he mentioned something I don't know who they were playing, but it was the Saints, and I don't know what game it was, but he mentioned something about voodoo, and he mentioned, that come from those off the coast islands of Carolina from Africa. But I didn't realize it then until I watched this, and I was like, wow. So we always label New Orleans,
right,
Louisiana,
but
it's not.
So take it another step further. Think about how that BJ sounded. Say, I like the way he talked. Who does he sound like? He sounds like the folks that you hear in New Orleans and
exactly.
All the other towns in Louisiana, man. Just like them.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, that's what I kept. That's when I saw him. That's what I kept hearing. But I'm like,
that's right,
off those islands of
South
Carolina, North Carolina.
Well, when that first image came up and they were in church, and their feet basically just could touch the water. I mean that kind of blew me away there.
Well, how about this? How about that when they were singing "Come By Here, Dear Lord"?
Yeah,
did that mess with y'all, man?
It did.
It
did.
Bring ye all tithes into the house that may be.
Got me.
Yes.
Come by here,
man.
Hey, HRap, you want to say something?
Oh no, I was going to just expand on the voodoo, because actually it's pronounced voodoo.
And you're right.
It goes back to the ways of knowing thing that I touched on at the very beginning. The ways of knowing things shows you that these people who are continue to be connected to our heritage, they know things about this thing that we don't. Dr. Greg Carr, the leader of Africana Studies at Howard University, always tells this story about how when Rudy Giuliani was about to run for president, and it was looking like he was picking up steam against Barack Obama, the ladies in Brooklyn, he said he went into this Jamaican restaurant, and they was like, he overheard two Jamaican ladies saying, he ain't gonna be the president because we gonna put that voodoo on him. 6 weeks later, he got cancer.
Wow.
The rest of the story is history.
Right.
And the story that the gentleman or that the narrator was telling of how the slaves were basically were getting away and they ended up coming to this area, and well, actually, how the voodoo priest led them to this area, which I thought was an amazing story. That I don't think you can just make that up. I mean,
right.
Yeah. So let's bring it to the point of our good friend Dawk of Beauty of the Week for High on the Hog. And if you have one from the Juneteenth event, you can.
What? No. Not.
Negatory.
So the beauty of the week this week, I wish you had the picture. I should have told you to pull it up before, but Gabrielle Etienne, and she is a community organizer there. You know, she's somebody who was originally from this town in South Carolina, moved off to New York after college and all that other kind of stuff, and living the big city life, and went back home, basically got a taste of home, and went back to New York, packed up a minivan, came back, and hasn't left since. Now doing things like planting community gardens and hosting these community dinners, you know, where they basically are tying the food of our ancestors into what's happening today. One example is one of the guys was eating the, I can't remember, the greens. When he ate those greens, he's like, I've not tasted greens like this since I was a kid, you know, and this was an old cat, you know. So, Gabrielle Etienne, she gets our Beauty of the Week, and she's on some power stuff. And, you know, I think it was the easiest Beauty of the Week decision I done had to make since the Fourcast started.
And she was talking about her Well, that was the lady that was talking about her uncle.
Yeah, the eminent domain that's coming in. They're going to lose the garden. Probably displaced probably about 4 of her family members and stuff like that. Yeah,
and he brought the wine over to her, and you could she was so touched.
Right,
and she was like, "Come on and sit down." That's I like that.
Like, nah, I got to go.
The camera off me now. I'm good. Get the camera off me now, boy.
Yeah, so, very emotional scenes over there.
Yeah, it really was. It really was, and that's why you have to watch this. If you are watching the Fourcast right now, you have to watch this docuseries because
do yourself a favor.
Food is about food, but like we've been talking about, food transcends to so many other areas of our lives that food is almost the smallest part of it.
I mean, look at empires through the years when they're about to set foot in the battle the night before. What are they doing?
Yeah,
they're eating, or they may have that last meal, or they're having that meal that, we need your bellies to be full. I mean, I think food has just been a connection to everything, whether it's good deeds, negative deeds, whether it's a good story. It's about, I mean, I think this food has always been that centerpiece in the background. And I think now even more, it's gaining traction. I think it's always been second fiddle, but it is, as they say, hiding in plain sight. I think food has always just been that centerpiece.
Well, even when Moses was leading the people out of Egypt, didn't they have to eat all that meat? You're gonna need this. Don't eat it all. But the truth of the matter is that the African diaspora cannot be fully illustrated without several chapters on food. Simple as that. You cannot fully understand the African diaspora, the Black diaspora, the African American diaspora. You don't understand us unless you understand the food.
Right. Exactly.
You don't understand yourself until you understand the food.
Right. And like one of the ladies in the series was asking, she's like, she doesn't know why African American cuisine is not at the forefront. But to me, I want to say yes, it's not. But I want to say it's at a forefront to a point. But unfortunately, because so many people have, Paula Deen the recipe, or so many people have Emerald Lagasse the roux, it's like, but you don't want to connect it to where you got it from. Are you giving praises to where that started? It's like, oh, I remember when my grandmother used to make this. Yeah, but do you know where that came from?
It's at a forefront when a certain face is in front.
Right.
That's
something. Well, I ain't gonna say that because that's in the next episode. They mention it.
Yeah. Now the artists. Now I don't know if anybody was,
formerly known as something.
No. Yeah, not Benita A. Whitfield. She hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah.
But when it goes to the artist that he lives in Benin and he's a world-renowned artist, and one of the comments that he said, which they were showing his art, one of the comments that he said is, this meal was before the slave ship. When they that food that they had that was wrapped in the leaves, and it was, that was amazing how they sat down and how they ate, and they were learning what the different things were. So I mean, it was that was great to see.
That was big, yeah.
No, don't put it on there.
I'm not doing it. I don't even know what that means.
Oh Lord,
not.
Don't. I don't even know what's happening.
Yeah.
It's like, look away.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
Yeah.
We made it.
Exactly.
Trolls is the number one way of white supremacy saying we lost.
Right.
Oh, wow.
But when they were sitting around the table, and when he said that, when he made that comment, that was powerful. Like, we're not talking about the food afterwards. We're talking about the food before, and he was just bringing it out. I was winding that back to see like what the different foods were, because it was really like nothing that I've I don't know if I've seen before.
But did you touch on the artist saying, they asked him, say, hey, you're a big world-renowned artist. Why not go for the big lights and the bright lights and the big city? And he goes, what? I don't want your New York. I don't want your big buildings. I don't know what for.
Yeah, right. I don't want your big house. Yeah, I'm home. Yeah, that was that again was another powerful comment. And I'm gonna put his name up there because I definitely know it's not gonna come out right. But HRap, you about to say something?
Yeah, that ties to something I'm gonna talk about tomorrow. How we always, like the Juneteenth thing, we wait until we get acknowledgement and then we celebrate things. If we just, we don't need New York to say this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Dawk said it's awesome. KRS-One mentioned this. He said, how you become great is Dawk starts rapping. I go, Dawk, you amazing. And he keeps rapping. And he say, and then he start rapping, I'm amazing. And then you say, why are you amazing? And you go, because HRap said so. And that's how you do it. We keep waiting on people who keep their foot on our neck to say, you're amazing. That is the most inverse way of thinking in the history of the world. Why, if Wilks is punching me in the face every day at 4 o'clock, hey, Wilks, you think you're going to say I'm cute at some point? No, just lay down and hit me these socks in the eye. Yeah. And that's our problem.
Yeah, there's his name right there. Showing some of the art that he's done as well, I thought was amazing. The one with the gas cans, the story on the gas cans, when we're just talking about how they're basically, taking it and selling it, and it's dangerous. I mean, obviously it's dangerous. I mean, if anything, if you hit a spot or something happens, you can blow up. So, yeah, that was another part of it that I really like, how they all sit around the table. Like Wilks kind of touched on this. Sitting around the table is something that was done throughout the Bible. It goes back to our heritage again, which our history is in the Bible. Okay, like people, for a long time, I would think, well, this is something so long ago that it don't relate to us. No,
right?
It does relate to us. That is our history.
Oldest Bible in the world is housed right there in Ethiopia today.
Yeah.
So, one of the things, so Dr. Jessica, who was at the beginning of part 1, I don't know if we mentioned that she was the travel editor for Essence magazine in the 70s. And what it makes me think about is how much good content we're missing now that we have opened our eyes a bit from people like her that served as travel editor for Essence or whatever for Jet or Ebony, or what do these people have to say that we missed, right? Yeah. Because our ears weren't open and our eyes weren't open, it almost, inspires me to go back and say, okay, let me read a couple of things. Let me check out a couple of things, because they were exposed to some stuff at a time that was much more significant than some of the things that we've been exposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll say this, we'll give a shout out to Steven Satterfield. He's the founder of Wheatstone magazine. And I'll put the link in the comments, but he's this guy's pretty awesome. I didn't know a lot about him, but in watching this, he's pretty knowledgeable in what he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, to get picked up by Netflix or something like this, that's no small. That's nothing to sneeze at, to say the least.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know what all those.
I just wanted to get that foolishness out the way.
Oh, okay. So the point of no return. Old Day was that town or city, but what that was the point where Steven really got emotional. It almost seemed like he could not he couldn't contain himself, and that hug that Dr. J gave him, that was that mother's type hug that he needed in that moment. But I'm sure if we all went there and experienced that, we would definitely have some of those same feelings.
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, it's a powerful moment, and it doesn't matter how long it's been. I mean, it's going to be significant because, like, you're tied to that. You know, it's just like, you know, your inner man is tied to the Spirit of God. I mean, when He speaks, I mean, something is triggered. You know, whether you believe it or not, something is poking at you. Something is talking to you. So, and even in that moment, and like HRap said, it's the ancestors, you know, pretty much bringing you full circle again. Like she said, we're standing on top of a mass grave of people that did not make it. And like you said, you know, what are the recipes that did not make it?
Right, man.
The souls that did not make it, the family lineages that were cut off in that moment. You know, it's just one of those things where it's a powerful, significant moment.
Yeah.
There's a line that was quoted there that said, "There is a richness of taste that you don't know you were missing until you experience it."
Yes.
So that's one of the important pieces of going back, you know, and visiting Africa and some of those places, because there's a richness, there is a part of you, there is something in your DNA that you cannot connect with. And in fact, you know, Malcolm X talked about the difference in Malcolm X pre-Mecca and post-Mecca, right? You know, so you go back and you get in touch with some things from the continent that you are from, that your people are from, and it may just unlock something in you that is the missing link to your greatness.
Right. Exactly.
Well, it's just like when Dawk, when he even mentioned, because I didn't know High on the Hog was even going on, but when Dawk mentioned it and I looked at the trailer for it, I made a comment, you know, even in the chef's table, every chef that is in there, they talk about, you know, well, this recipe, it kind of bombed, this didn't go well. Every chef in there said the same exact thing. They had to go back home and they had to regain that step. They had to regain what my grandmother taught me, what my mom taught me, what my grandfather showed me. They had to go back and reinvent themselves, and maybe not even reinvent. Like you said, they had to unlock what was already there. The potential is already in you. I just need you to unlock it. It's kind of like a thought I had last week. You know, we get down on ourselves and talk about disappointment, but then I wonder, does God ever believe in the word disappointment? I don't think He's disappointed. I think He's trying to get you to know that there's potential in you. I'm not hung up on the disappointment.
Right.
I'm just trying to get you into the light of, this is the potential I'm trying to get you to.
There you go.
In human flesh, we're disappointed. But God doesn't operate in disappointment.
Hey, you don't start preaching again. I'm telling you, He's on it.
It's one of those things where it's like, does God really focus? Because I mean, it's just like he blows right past disappointment.
HRap, what I tell you this weekend?
Oh man, that's why I keep pointing at
you. To a point.
That's why I keep pointing at you.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to get you to a point of understanding. I'm trying to meet you in this potential.
Right.
Hello, Jonah and the great fish.
Focus on your strengths, and I'll take care of your weaknesses. Hey,
focus
Jonah, on your strengths. I'll worry about your disappointment.
Right.
Focus on your strengths. I'll worry about everything else.
Hey, Jonah, I know you don't want to go talk to these people, but I still need you to be swallowed up by this great fish to think about the potential. You don't want to be there. I know it, but in your potential, you're going to reach. If I can touch 2 or 3 or 2 or more are gathered, I'll leave it at that.
So here the deal is, Wilks. So tag me in. What is your big fish? What is your whale? Is your whale unemployment? Is your whale drama with your baby mama? Is your whale sickness and disease? I need you to go through it for a moment so I can get you to where I need you to go.
You know, it's so funny because last week I was at my mom's and I was clearing off some trees, and she was having service over the phone, and the story was about the storm. And I'm like, and I even chimed in. I said, God is even willing to meet you in the midst of that storm. Don't run from that storm, because in that storm, that's your training ground. Don't curse your training ground. I am going to part those waters and show you the potential to walk through on dry land, not muddy, murky.
Wow.
Yeah, whatever.
Man, we're taking love offerings to Pastor Wilks.
I'm telling you right now, if you don't watch the Fourcast on a regular basis and you think we just reviewing movies the same old, Siskel and Ebert didn't preach. I promise you they did.
No, they did not.
I promise you
they did
the
not.
perspective that we have on movies and what that signifies for us and what that triggers us to know and believe. I'm telling you.
Right.
In the words of Big Sean, I don't take L's, I take lessons.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotta go through it to get through it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about or marriage, that's a prime example.
Right.
The amount of years my parents have been married, the amount of years I've been married, it is not always going to be everything is all gravy. There's going to be storms. When you get through that storm and you get to the end of it, then you can look back and say, look what God has brought us through.
Right. Oh, yeah, definitely. I just, like I said, I was on lunch and that thought just hit me. And I was like, does he really care about the disappointment? Because he seems like he blows past that. And I'm trying to drop you in the middle of your potential. Because guess what? If I was disappointed in you, I would have given up on you. But I did not give up on you because there's still potential. I'm still breathing life into you. Like there's still time. Like I'm still trying to bring you to this point. And it just kind of hits me. Something just kind of bouncing off my head. But
and just for the other two of you guys, we did not talk about that because we don't go to lunch together.
No,
I don't know that I believe that, but okay. But in the words of Shaka Khan, through the fire, through the storm, go back.
And the Kanye remix, Through the Wire. But, Now, very, very interesting point
Shaka
about
Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan, let me rock it up.
I feel for you. Ones and twos.
You would have given up on us a long time ago. That's the word.
That disappointment ain't. Don't worry about it.
Me.
Right.
Now, so listen to this. O'Day, which was the city, the point of no return. If you look at the translation, it translates to Judah. And Judah, one of the last tribes of Israel.
Right.
So, like the roots are the roots.
I'll be a lion in Judah.
Yeah, yeah. Don't play with how the chosen people that we are.
Right.
So, anybody wanted to touch on the point of no return or add on to any of that? That's a powerful place that we got to go see.
I would love to see it eventually one day, but it's like a beacon. I mean, it's huge. I mean, it's a lightning rod. It's one of those things where it's a sacred ground. We use that word in different aspects of natural parks and things like that. But I mean, that's a significant place. I mean, it's huge.
Well, all we got to do is set up us a forecast trip for 2022. Well, hire us a travel agent to put us a little something together, open it up to viewers or whoever, and make it happen.
Yeah.
Let's go.
That's big. No, I think that'd be huge.
Yeah, that definitely would be. Now going into part 2, which was called the Rice Kingdom, and it started off in South Carolina, and the gentleman that was talking about the Carolina gold, I believe he mentioned, or someone mentioned, that 50 to 60% of the slaves came through there. That is a large percentage. I did not know that.
Well, I guess I can see why, because if that's where your swamplands, if that's where your crops, that's where your tobacco, even when you scalping the trees for turpentine, I believe that's what they used to do. That was, I mean, if you and like and going back to the artists, like he said, they bring us here because we're strong.
Mm-hmm.
We can heal this land. HRap said it many times. Dawk has said it many times. We're training you to irrigate. We're training you to do agriculture. So it's one of those things where it's like You're using us because you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And that was part of the pushback in regard. That's why you got those black codes after the Emancipation Proclamation.
Right.
Because we needed you to do this.
Right.
Like, people don't realize the term redneck is an actual illness. It's your neck, due to lack of nutrients, your neck turns red. It's not a
really?
I want to say, I think I've heard that before. Yeah.
It's not a slur. And because they didn't know how to till the fields, they were just eating meat and dying.
Yeah.
So they create the black codes. If 3 or more black people stand in one place without a white person to co-sign for them, you go to jail. If a black person standing around loitering, you go to jail.
Right.
And then what they do, they get
put them back in the field.
Put
them back in the field. Yep.
Get 300 or 400 of us, go back out there and do what you know how to do. That's why Lincoln, everybody's favorite president, he freed you. He introduced sharecropping. And I got a grandmother that was making 17 cents a year.
Wow.
A year.
Wow.
And still, hey, shout out to my grandmother because she still bought property in Tuskegee.
And when HRap was in Dallas on Friday night, I was spending 17 cents a second. A second.
Now talking about Chef BJ Dennis, which he wrote a book, I believe it's called The Gullah Chef.
Yes.
And when it really talked about him and how he got started and how he travels across the country, and when he made that pig, it was just like second nature. I don't know how many times he's done it, but it was like second nature. And he was like, Hey, yo, Stevie, you can just go ahead and come back to like 3 or 4 or something.
We'll be here all night, baby.
We'll be here all night. He was like, oh, y'all not going to sleep? He was like, nah. It's not gonna be a lot of sleep tonight.
And I mean, that's kind of like, that real quick, that reminded me of me, like, the holidays, if I got a turkey I'm smoking or a brisket, I'm not going to sleep. Right. I'm right here on this couch.
Yeah.
I ain't going to sleep. I'm up.
Yeah.
I ain't going to sleep. And
then the people that he learned from, I wanted to get their names. Let me go back here. But it was just great to see how it wasn't just he wasn't just saying, oh, this is what I've done and I got all this on my own. No, so the Gullah Grub restaurant, which was the 2 people that he learned and this knowledge and stuff from, which that just goes back to the point that everything that we've learned or gotten, which like what HRap talks about, it's been passed down to us, whether we actually received it or read about it or not. It's in us.
Yeah, the Gullah was different an experience for me because I have to honestly say I had never heard of that
term. Term period.
Yeah, I had never heard of that ever. Yeah, that's new for me.
Yeah.
The funny thing is the whole thing. When he acknowledged the people who he got it from. That's from the Bible too. As long as you say your name is said, you'll live forever. That's why he had to say that.
Right.
That's how it continues to be inculcated in your brain. That's how you're able to pass these recipes down, not because of word of mouth, through spirituality and empowerment through just Ivan Dawkins, Wilks, Ben, HRap. If you keep saying that, BS3 and the Fourcast will live forever.
Yeah. And then when they made all the food, they brought everybody in the community and came together and ate.
Yeah.
And also, again, going back to the Bible, that sounds very similar. That they made the food and they brought everybody together. So I mean, again, that is us.
Yeah, and he even talked about, he goes, we didn't eat this meat all the time. We ate it sparingly. A lot of times it was once a year, to give everybody what they needed, to get everybody fed in the community, to make sure they had basically protein, so he's like, we didn't eat this all the time, which is why they made such a big deal of it,
Right. And then Gabrielle NTN, she got in there too, and she was helping. And it was a community event, really, is what it was. So I mean, the first two episodes I thought were great. Somehow, I guess somebody else was watching it on the Netflix, on the shared Netflix. So I ended up watching 4. So I'm gonna go back and watch 3 and do 4, so we can talk about that next week. Which I thought I was talking about.
I didn't know. I don't know where you was going.
I was looking like, what you want to say?
Just following the bouncing ball, my friend.
Exactly.
But that both the first 2 episodes were great. I'm looking forward to more. As we're on this topic of food, I also wanted to give a shout out to Dame Drops.
Yes,
this guy getting started on YouTube, doing food reviews in his car, and he does a lot of fast food items, and he's always like amazed and shocked of how well this stuff tastes. But he's also got a show on Netflix called Fresh, Fried, and Crispy, which it premiered on June 9th. I want you guys to go check that out too. Support, man, because and a lot of the places he's going to is African American, and he's just real about it too.
Right.
He's not changing who he was on the YouTube video or who he was on Netflix
at all.
So,
nice.
Wanted to touch on that.
Definitely will check that out.
Yeah. All right. Any kind of last thoughts or anything we missed that anybody want to touch on?
No, I would just simply encourage anybody who has not started it, go ahead and get in the first couple of episodes at least, and try to get in 3 and 4 before next Monday. So, there'll be more context there, and you can give your point of view on what you saw in case we missed anything. Because even when it's 4 of us, each of us will tell you that every week somebody says something that we missed, or like, wow, or it gives a perspective that we didn't think of. So that's what I would say is I'd encourage you to go watch episodes 1 and 2, 3 and 4 if you can. So next week you in the game.
And Chief spelled your name right.
Yeah, that's the first time in how many weeks? Chief Rock, I appreciate it.
And then we say dark or
or a hawk or something.
I got one more thing to say since Chief here. How about them Cowboys?
We should have sent you back with a Cowboys gift pack.
Yeah,
hit up Jerry on the flip phone and have him stop by and bring us some stuff.
Jerry Jones' house was cool.
Wilks, any last words?
Nothing crazy. I mean, like I said, for me, and Dawk hit it right home for me. Anybody that sends me anything about cooking, recipes, I mean, I love it. I mean, it's done well. I seriously love to cook. Chief Rocker ain't taking that.
Right.
But other than
that's his go-to. That's his go-to line.
Yeah, it's great, man. I enjoyed it. If anybody out there has a connection with food or a recipe that they can remember,
that's a great idea.
It's great.
Great idea. Yeah.
It's good.
Great idea.
And also, man, we didn't touch on this, but earlier in the first episode, there was another. She was a baker, and she did desserts. I meant to put her name.
And she had I might be wrong, but she suffered from mental illness. I believe.
Yeah, she was saying that the cooking was like her safe place. That gave her relief. I forgot her name, but I mean those desserts were on point too.
Great, yeah.
And to go back to another thing else that I forgot to put down and mention, red velvet cake. The red velvet cake with the beets. Now, red velvet cake now is
it was cornbread. Thank you. It wasn't no cake, man.
They had a red velvet cake made with beets.
I didn't see that. I know they had the cornbread with the beets.
She made a cornbread.
We're talking about the beets.
He's talking towards the beginning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the desserts that she made. Yeah, go if you forgot that part, go back and check that out because she made the red velvet cake and she made everything not the way it's made now, with added stuff in it and dyes and to make it look red or to make it look a certain color. And
and it took me back to what I said earlier. She used beets, which again is heart healthy, which again reduces blood pressure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Grandma, for having the beets at the dinner table.
Yeah, my Amazon order of super beets came in due to HRap inspiration.
Good stuff, man.
Karen Hunter, man. Shout out to Karen Hunter.
Yeah. All right, so what you got coming up tomorrow on the show, HRap?
I'm gonna cover some. Like I said, I'm gonna defend Texas. I'm gonna talk about Juneteenth and the history of Juneteenth. And one of my history things, I do the history every week. I'm talking about Paul Robeson. We get athletes disrespected and they're called dumb and they're belittled. And if you're an intelligent athlete, you're seen as an anomaly. When I can't think of the man now, I ain't got my pad with me. What's the Dr. Drew? The plasma guy, can't think of his name, blood plasma guy.
Yeah. Hold on. Charles Drew.
Charles Drew. He was a world-class sprinter. He's on the track team. Paul Robeson was a lawyer, a singer, an actor, and a top shelf academic. And I'm gonna show the world that this is probably the very first version of a superstar. And, he just proves that dumb jock theory. When back then, in order to play, you had to be wildly intelligent. Jackie Robinson, Paul Robeson, Paul Lawrence Dunbar, and the people of that nature. And then I'm gonna talk about I got my phone right here. Again, I'm gonna talk about Jada Jarrell Brown, 140 college acceptances, and $5 million in scholarship. A young lady who's going to college next year.
Oh.
What I'm doing now is just celebrate instead of saying HRap B he robbed the bank, Dawk got caught selling dope, Wilks is a murderer, Ben is a drug kingpin. I'm gonna start highlighting people like that at least once a week. And I'm tired again, it's kind of like with the Texas thing. All we hear about is what we do wrong. That's why it was this lady I saw at the fish joint last week, and she was giving the police a pass for what they've done. The reason they shoot us, according to her, is due to bad parenting. So, in order for us to change the narrative, we must start presenting the greatness. And I thought about this, Dawk. I'm gonna ask you. I don't want to put you. We'll talk about it afterward. But we got to stop putting our greatness in front of the world instead of all we know is HRap is a criminal. That's all we know. HRap robbed the bank. HRap is a child molester. HRap drugged women and went to jail for it. We don't hear about Paul Lawrence Dunbar. We don't. How about this? And then I'm gonna be quiet again. We don't know that every major city in America has a Black Expo. Would y'all like to guess when one of the first Black Expos was in the United States of America? 1820.
Wow.
Not 1920.
Yeah.
1820. Guess whose grandfather was there? Langston Hughes' grandfather, and what's my man name with the handlebar mustache? W.B. Du Bois' grandfather were there.
Wow.
So when you know where you come from, you become Langston Hughes. You become
right. That's what's up.
That makes sense.
W.B. Du Bois.
That's
you become Paul Robeson.
Right.
Yeah.
Just with information.
Right.
Like went to see my cousin yesterday in Dallas. He's a serial entrepreneur like the brother Dawk. And guess what? Our grandfather was too.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of when you know,
you
improve, and when you improve, you shine, and when you shine, you uplift.
Yeah. And correction, that part about the red velvet cake was actually in episode 4. So we'll talk about that.
Talk about that
next Monday.
I knew I saw it, dog.
We'll talk about that next Monday. My bad.
Yeah.
Hey, dog, I knew I saw it. I knew I saw it. Because she was saying she put beef in it.
I'm talking ahead. But anyway, Doc, Queen 3 and King, is it going down tomorrow?
Yes, sir. But before I do that, shout out to Sha'Carri Richardson, qualifying for the Olympics, straight out of Dallas, Texas, by way of Carter High School. She is an LSU athlete and student now, but she is now the fastest woman in the world. I think she ran a 10.72, if I'm not mistaken. Smoking. So shout out to her. Congratulations on that. Queen 3 and King, tomorrow's episode will be pandemic pressures. What has changed in your life as a result of the pandemic? What has changed in society as in general, and what has changed specifically in your life as a result of the pandemic? So we'll be chopping that up tomorrow at 7:30.
All right. I thought you were going to say Pandemic P. I thought you were talking about Paul George or something.
Paul George.
No.
Well, we will be back next week. Wilks, anything you want to, any short one-liner, any sermonettes you want to leave us with?
No. There was one that stood out, and I mentioned it earlier, but the significant would be bring ye all tithes into the storehouse, that there may be meat in my house.
But this is what I want you to do. I want you to hold your glass up and let's see how much we got left over.
Oh, don't worry. We got quite a bit.
Oh, wow. Okay. You just doing a little sipping tonight.
Yeah.
I think HRap took your
Oh, man.
Go ahead and finish it off.
We ain't going to say nothing about that pinky he had there while he was drinking.
And what are you doing?
All right. Well, HRap, close us out as always.
Hey, man, like I said every week, dream those dreams and man up and one up, live those dreams, because life without dreams flows in black and white. Like what dreams flows in technicolor and surround sound. And if I owe you something, I ain't got it. And on 1, 2, 3, if you need it, get it from God.
Peace.
All right now.